Hey, welcome everybody. Good to see you again. Thank you for having us back. For those that haven't met me, my name is Dan Powers from Champion Solutions Group. What we're going to present here today is a solution we think that's going to fit your environment. So we had a couple discussions with folks in the room here. Some of you I recognize, and we're looking at your initiatives that you're trying to do, some of the issues you have today, and where you're trying to go from a security and performance perspective this year. So with that, we'd like to introduce to you this idea of this tool called ExtraHop and making sense of it all with ExtraHop, which is basically everything we covered. So from that, I want to begin to show you how the solution can work in your environment. Um, and just before that, I did want to go over and make sure we're all on the same page and cover some of the things that we had talked about with you folks. Make sure we're on the same page. So, uh, one of the key themes that people had mentioned is we're not looking for another tool. We have plenty of them, and it's funny. And I kind of chuckled there, and I didn't mean to mean anything by it. We hear this from a lot of our clients and customers. And it's actually something that we looked at as a team that said, "Hey, listen, we're not trying to sell you product. We're not trying to sell you tools. We're trying to sell you solutions." So hopefully we're gonna talk about that today and go over the idea of, hey, what do we do to fill gaps? Where can we replace maybe some legacy tools you had in your environment that have been around for a while, and you just keep investing in, but really might not fit the bill anymore. So definitely understood you want a solution and not a tool. Uh, Along with that, you need to do more with less. And from that, we usually mean staff. And again, a common thing with all the customers we talk to. As security becomes more and more acute in customers' environments and they realize they need to take a more serious look at this, there's a huge gap in the industry today for security analysts, right? There's just not enough of them. And when you do get some good guys and they train a little bit, get some experience under their belt, it's unfortunate, but a lot of these guys are in high demand. They can usually move off to different jobs, right? And because of that, demand is so high. So our customers lose some of their security folks. So how do we address that? And of course, better or complete visibility. So it was a common theme I wrote down: visibility, as we had our conversations with you from a security aspect, from a asset management, even from a performance. Hey, we don't know what's out there. There's so much stuff out here. Our environment's been growing. We've been busy doing our work. We just don't think we see everything we're seeing. And plus, it was brought up you guys are doing some cloud initiatives. How do we see what's in the cloud? So very common theme. We'll talk about that. Another thing that gets a little more specific to you folks, you have multiple remote sites, two major data centers, 20 plus smaller remote offices. I put the plus there because I know even since we talked, you added some more remote sites. You're a growing company. You did some acquisitions. And even that leads into, hey, what are these? What's this company running? What are their users? What type of devices? What are their applications? How do we simulate them? Right. So we're going to look at helping you do that as well. And lastly, the biggest thing on your topic was moving to the cloud. We know we're helping you with an Office 365 initiative at the moment. So you're moving your on premise email exchange system off to the cloud. You're starting to get more into the cloud. You might offload some of the things in the data center to the cloud. So visibility, still huge. And of course, security when you're taking that cloud leap is a huge concern of yours. So did I get all these right? Everybody? Okay, I thought I did. So from that, what I wanted to do is kind of walk through a couple PowerPoint slides and look at where we are today, where North Acme is today, and where we can help you. So, again, I'm going to start with this visibility idea. So it seemed to be a common thread. And we're going to start with that cloud, AWS, Azure, whatever you're working with. We know you're starting to do stuff there and you're going to do more and more, right? So we need visibility into what's going on in that cloud environment, no matter where you host it. Again, your two data centers seems to be one is more of an active and passive data center. Something's running in one, more in a bulk. You have some initiatives going on there, which we'll address, but you currently have two data centers. And as I had mentioned, the ever growing remote sites that you have to deal with here. So if we start at the bottom and kind of work up to some of the highest items that we had talked about, VoIP, or voice over IP in these sites, concerned with the Internet of Things, right? It's the printers, it's the smart devices, the laptop, all of these devices that are proliferating on your network, and how do you manage and keep track of them? And that kind of feeds right into that asset management piece that a couple people brought up. Hey, we can't manage what we don't know is there, right? So we need to be able to address that. From the data center side, as I had mentioned, I grabbed a couple of your top applications, right? Everybody from the remote sites everywhere is using these. This is how you run your business. You're a very big Citrix shop. You have SAP in your environment. And of course, databases. Everybody has different databases, Oracle, SQL, DB2, whatever. These run the back end of your front end web servers, your front end applications, and so forth. So, from a security and performance perspective, a very big concern that you have. And of course, I kind of threw up there, which I look at as really as a software as a service, but that cloud, Office 365, the Salesforce, those types of things, we know you're doing that. So these are the initiatives you have today. You're trying to address this, and we did take a quick look at some of the tools that you've had in place. Some of these are much older, some of them are newer, but the top ones that I remember is Netscope, SolarWinds, SCCM for your Windows machines, and in a recent addition, again, security on your mind, you've chosen QRadar as a SIM, and you've been dealing with that, setting it up, getting data in there, and even on that discussion was the visibility into QRadar. I love SIM technologies. I think people should utilize them. One of the challenges, of course, is a SIM is as good as the data you're sending it from the get-go, regardless of what you do with it after. But if you don't get data to it, it just doesn't do any work, right? So that's an issue there. Again, back to that visibility. So what we wanted to introduce to you is this ExtraHop, and it's I drew it here as an appliance. This is their base discovery appliance, is an ExtraHop appliance to solve some of these issues. Now, in a lot of our customers, what we notice is ExtraHop can augment or replace a lot of your existing tools, right? So again, tool consolidations is one of the things you listed. And we're going to see that in action. I'm going to prove to you how that could work. In the case of SolarWinds, Netscope, and some of those things, ExtraHop can really kind of replace those. Or a lot of our customers, what they do is maybe not do a rip and replace. They bring ExtraHop in, they start looking at it, see the value of it, and a lot of them just don't renew their licenses for some of their other tools. They kind of fall by the wayside. They sunset them, or they just pare back what they do with them. In the case of QRadar and other SIMs, actually, I think this is a great example where ExtraHop will augment your SIM. We call it turbocharging your SIM, and we'll get into that in a minute. Of how that kind of works. But how does the ExtraHop appliance work itself, right? So there's no agents on this thing whatsoever. We don't poll your network. What we do is either by a mirror port or a span port, we look at the network traffic, right? And we do this passively. We're out of band. We're not affecting anything. We're not installing any agents. As devices communicate, ExtraHop immediately begins to do its work. And it does this by auto discovery. So again, get into that visibility. If a machine is on your network, I'm here with my laptop today. If I attach to your Wi-Fi, I'm on your network, right? You're not going to put an agent on me in the case of SolarWinds. How do you know I'm here, right? Yeah, it can show up in some logs you have to sift through, and hopefully you're sending them to the QRadar and detecting this if you set it up. ExtraHop is automatically going to see me as soon as I start sending some packets out. So automatically discovery. It automatically classifies system based on the protocols they're talking, because ExtraHop is what we like to say is protocol fluent, and we'll get a little more into that. But if a machine is talking, web traffic, it's a server. I don't care if it's IES, Apache, Tomcat, doesn't matter. It talks a specific protocol, in a sense, HTTP or HTTPS. ExtraHop is going to see that, detected it on the network, and automatically classify as this a server and it's a web server. So it's kind of cool in how it does these type of things. Now, the other thing to understand is I mentioned ExtraHop is protocol fluent. So protocol fluent in over 50 plus protocols: DNS, DHCP, HTTP, database transactions, Kerberos, all of these things. And it can do deep packet inspection on this network data, and it can run over 5,000 metrics on this. So we got to pause and think about that for a minute. ExtraHop can do this passively on your network, no agents installed, running all these metrics in real time. So other tools may grab data, write it to a log, sift through it later, try to make sense of it. And again, giving you a view of what happened a while ago. ExtraHop is doing this at line rate speed. And what it does is it takes all of this massive network packets, frames coming into it, which you can't really make sense of. ExtraHop, because it reassembles every TCP IP conversation on your network from layer 2 all the way up to layer 7, not just 4, right? Not just the network side, all the way up to layer 7. So out of the end of it, what we're seeing is your network as a whole. So it's covering everything that your SolarWinds and Netscope would be doing here from a network standpoint. But it also does the protocols all the way up to layer 7. So now it's getting complete visibility into the applications that are riding on top of your network. In this example, I threw out database and Citrix, right? So now I have this whole concept of what's going on in your network without doing anything, by the way. Another kind of important thing here is ExtraHop can do this to scale. So again, I didn't write that on the agenda a minute ago, but it was a topic we talked about. We need a solution, right? That's going to be in place that can scale with us as we grow. Your growing company. ExtraHop can scale these with their appliances, and it can scale up to 100 gigabits per second. So some of the largest customers in the world are running ExtraHop and doing it on their network with a lot of data moving. The other thing to understand is it can do SSL decryption. So we have to kind of think about that for a minute. A lot of companies are, all network traffic, even east to west, is being encrypted. So from a performance standpoint, I can see maybe, HTTPS traffic moving. I can see, hey, it's performing well or it's not performing well, but I can't open up that packet if it's encrypted, and see what the payload is to see what's actually going on. ExtraHop can actually do this at line rate at 100 gigabits per second and open up these packets and do deep level inspection. And it's the only way he can then apply those 5,000 metrics to this to give us a empirical view of what's happening inside of your network and how the applications are performing. That's an incredible, powerful thing. And from a security aspect, the guys in the room from security, if you read Gartner and stuff, they're telling you, listen, if you're not opening up the payload and looking inside, you don't know what's happening on your network. So another way to look at it is if you go to an airport today, right, and you have your bag and it has to be 50 pounds or less, somebody could grab it. Yep, it's under 50 pounds, jump on the plane. They have no idea what's in my bag. That's not how TSA works, right? I got to put my bag on the scanner. It goes through there. They X-ray it. They're opening up my bag and looking inside is what they're doing. That's exactly what ExtraHop is doing to say, what are you actually carrying here? So very important concept, and I just want to point that out because ExtraHop is incredibly unique in this feature. So what does that mean now that we have this? We recreated that level 2 to level 7. We made sense of all these network packets that are happening, and we translated it into what ExtraHop likes to call wire data, right? It means now that I can have a very easily extended search capabilities and give you a Google-like search capability to look at any server, any protocol, any user, any point in time in your network, and very quickly find out what's going on. Right. So I know all of us in the room have used Google at one time or other. Hey, I'm looking for a movie time, movies in my area, Lion King. Google's going to find the answer. That's what ExtraHop is doing here with your wire data. Okay. Now, the other thing to note, if you have a requirements to store raw packets, ExtraHop can do this as well. I'm going to tell you this is another appliance, and it's called the Trace appliance. But for those of you that like recording raw packets, or you want to be able to do forensics, or it's just something you need to do, ExtraHop can do this with the other appliance, and it's an option that you can add on here. So now that we're here, the ExtraHop Reveal platform, from a security standpoint, also does this other thing with their cloud environment, if you will. Excuse me. What it's doing is taking metrics. Now, I just want you to understand there's no customer data being sent out to the cloud. It's not sending your SQL statements, your IP addresses, nothing like that. It's just the raw metrics that get sent out to the cloud, and it's still secure, but none of your company specific data is going out there. But what it does, it applies machine learning out to these metrics, and it looks for real-time detections. So for an example, if there's known threat actors out there and so forth, it looks for these things. It also looks for anomalies. As it learns your environment, it's constantly recording all the network traffic. It knows what users do, it knows how your applications behave. If they deviate from normal behavior, it can throw out a detection back to you, an alert. And it does this with unsupervised machine learning. So what do I mean by that is, hey, you guys don't currently have a 24/7 SOC where someone's constantly eyes on the glass. ExtraHop is going to be your eyes on the glass and alert you. Can forward it off to the SIM, email alerts, or just keep it in ExtraHop. But it's going to alert you when these anomalies happen. so that you can go and investigate it. Another unique thing ExtraHop does, if it does detect an anomaly, it does detect a real-time detection, it is going to alert you, which was what you would expect. But above and beyond that, it's going to give you a guided investigation. It's going to tell you what to go look at next, right? This is very powerful, and I'll show you that in a demo. So once I get this detection, I can then go look at it. ExtraHop provides me with some steps to go perform, and that's where I'd leverage the power of that Elasticsearch capability of the Discovery appliance and go look at exactly the transactions, what's going on, down to those transaction records, and if I need to, all the way down to the packets, so that I'm not guessing what happened. I'm showing empirically, hey, at 7:35 last night, Dan logged in and downloaded all these files, these gigabits of files from the server. He doesn't normally do this. Here's the exact time frame. Here's the user account. Here's the exact files he copied off. It's like having in a court of law having your fingerprints on a gun, right? I can't deny it. My fingerprints are there. It's empirical evidence is what we're looking at here. So very unique into the ExtraHop side of the house of how he performs. So, does any questions? Everybody get that? Okay, awesome. So what I want to is kind of go over that, get you set on how it works, no agents and all this good stuff, and look at what Acme North would look like tomorrow from this sense. So first, we talked about that visibility, right? It's a huge concept. As you can see, if we're getting that network data, we're seeing every device on your network. If it's talking TCP/IP, we got it, we see it. Don't have to install an agent, nothing else for you to do. It auto classifies this stuff. Um, we're also seeing that real-time detections, right? So being able to shoot those metrics up to the cloud, ExtraHop's machine learning capabilities, we're providing you with real-time detections for things that you need to go look at. And along with that, not just the alert, but giving you guided investigations. What steps should you go perform next to really dig into this, whether it's security or performance? So, what does that deliver to you guys trying to do more with less? Well, from a security standpoint, ExtraHop's real strength is that east-west detection. What's happening inside your network? If you believe some of the reports out there, they say every company has been breached. Don't care what you did, you've been breached. Get over it. You need to figure out what's going on. And as you know, or probably well aware, most folks that have been breached, people are in their environment for an average of 99 days, I think it was, without being detected. ExtraHop's going to find this much, much quicker. Um, the other thing we didn't quite talk about, but I'll show you in the demo again, is hygiene. So instead of just being reactive, hey, I got an alert, I got to go investigate, we can leverage ExtraHop to be proactive, both in a performance and security standpoint. And one of the examples I'll show you in the demo here coming up is certs. Let me ask you right now, for the folks in the room, how many of you can tell me how many certs for encrypting traffic is in your environment today? How many certs are expiring? How many expired certs are you running? Are you running weak certs, right? So from a network hygiene standpoint, ExtraHop, because it sees all this data, is going to represent it to you, and very easily can we perform network hygiene and be more proactive. We can do this from a performance side as well. And again, I'll show you some of these things. Customers we notice that are building out a SOC, they start, if they have ExtraHop, that is pretty much their main thing on the main screen. Is ExtraHop, and I'll be honest with you. And again, we talked about that tool consolidation. I can recommend things to you, but what I'd really love to do is show you the POC, get it running in your environment, and as you get used to ExtraHop, I think you and your own team can start making the decision of, hey, when do we sunset some tools? All our customers seem to do that. Some of these legacy tools they've had in the environment for years might have been great 10 years ago. Maybe not a direct rip and replace, but they just don't invest in that tool anymore, or maybe they scale back what they're doing with it. So again, saving you some money there. From a performance standpoint, we talked about that data center transformations. We know you're doing some stuff to the cloud. We know you may consolidate some of your data centers here. ExtraHop is going to give us a perfect view of your data center, who's using it, what are the apps on it, what can happen if I move this to the cloud, who's affected. It gives you better data to make better decision. We also talked about you're a growing company, you're adding more remote offices, that's that merger. What is this company running? What are the users? What apps are they doing? How do we assimilate them? Again, I'm going to get that information. Of course, you have some app modernizations and all this other good stuff that we're talking about in your network upgrade tools, right? So ExtraHop's going to help us with this. Also, just think about that for a minute. I love SIMs, for example. No SIM in the world is going to help you secure your network with alerts and stuff, and also give you performance on your database server. ExtraHop's unique because it'll give you both, right? So we're seeing a trend out there. With my next point is bridging that gap between the knock and the sock, right? So a couple points here. One is if the knock and the sock are leveraging the same set of data, right, and looking at the same core set, that network wired data, which is the truth of what's going on, very quickly can we get to mean time to fix things, right, from a security or performance standpoint. What we also noticed is a lot of people today, and I'm sure you guys in the room, wear multiple hats. So you may be the Exchange admin. Your day-to-day activity is keeping Exchange running and email flowing. If there's a performance problem, that's your job. But if there's a security issue, you kind of switch hats to be the security guy, and you're doing that job as well. ExtraHop is very unique where we can take NOC engineers and we can turn them into security analysts without needing 10 years experience to do it. So again, more with less, and that huge gap into security today. We see this as a trend going forward, and we think ExtraHop is very, very unique to help you accomplish this. So again, setting that up from this point, I want to launch into the demo, and we're going to do that now, and I'm going to prove to you these points we talked about. And if you have any questions, please let me know as we do this. I definitely want to answer them for you. So this is what the screen looks like from ExtraHop Reveal X, right? When we log in. Now, a couple quick things I want to point out here. Lot going on, right? This is the default screen, but I'm not going to start here, right? I feel like I want to get into that visibility side of what ExtraHop delivers to you. So to do that, I'm going to come up under here and go to the metric side because I feel we got to make sure we're on the same page as how ExtraHop works before I show you what you get out of it. So as I had mentioned, ExtraHop is being protocol fluent. We're getting that data feed, that mirror report, our span or whatever, and we're getting that data from your network into ExtraHop. That's the only requirement we have. From there, we don't have to install agents. We're automatically seeing the conversations on the network. And because ExtraHop is protocol efficient, you're noticing he's seeing all this different traffic from databases, HL7 healthcare stuff for those that don't know, HTTP web traffic, Kerberos, NFS, RDP, all of these things. A lot of them should be familiar to you. And if a server is giving it up, for example, DNS right here, 22 servers are serving up DNS requests. So ExtraHop flags it as, well, it's a DNS server. 40 clients are requesting DNS, right? So there's 40 clients to this application / protocol. We're going to ignore detections at the moment. I just want to go over this visibility. So there's nothing you have to do here from a visibility standpoint. If it's on the wire, we're going to see it. ExtraHop's going to see it. And based on the conversations they're having, ExtraHop is automatically going to classify these machines. So for example, if I jump into devices here and just kind of proving my point, ExtraHop classifies these things into an L2, L3 device. L2 is it sees it on the network, kind of that MAC address. It knows it's there. When it starts getting its host name and its its IP addresses, it's not because ExtraHop is querying your DNS, right? Your DNS could be faulty. It's actually looking at the traffic, learning its IP address, learning the name that's associated with that IP address, and kind of adding that to each other. So that's how ExtraHop works. And again, because he's protocol fluent, if you see, for example, now I might be able to tell by the name here of MySQL, but ExtraHop sees this is a database, classifies it as a database server, could also be in multiple groups, by the way, but because it's serving database transactions on the network. I don't care if this is SQL, DB2, Postgres, doesn't matter. It's serving database requests. It is a database server, plain and simple. Right. So automatically classifying these things, very powerful, as we had that conversation with some of your other tools today, where you have to install the right agent, you have to go add it to a group, you have to do these manual things to start getting usefulness out of your tool. ExtraHop's going to do this for you out of the gate. Even down where we can grab users, right? We're starting to see the users on your network, right? So again, we're not talking directly to Active Directory. We're doing no polling. Again, no agents, just listening to the network. We see who's doing what and where. And as I had mentioned, we also do this in device groups. Let me just cover that real quick. Some of these are automatic and dynamic, means they're out of the box. So VMware is a good example. Any box that's a VMware machine starts showing up here. DHCP servers, domain controllers. You can create your own. and they can be dynamic or static, right? So you can create your own groups for remote offices and so forth. Another powerful one, for example, like new devices. And I'm just going to click this in your example, right, from a security or, hey, we just added a new, remote office or new company. What devices are in my environment from the last 7 days? Well, here they are. Here's the new devices. Check them out. Are they supposed to be here? I'll get a little bit more into how these screens work. I'm just trying to show you the visibility standpoint at the moment. But let me just jump back to device groups here. But I just want to make sure we're all level set on that idea of discovery auto classification. And I think it's kind of showing it here to you. All right. From there, now I'm going to go back to this overview page, right? And before I drill into some of this, I just want to give you a quick tour. So first of all, from a pure security standpoint, ExtraHop is looking at, these are picked up again, all of these things here are those detections, that machine learning detection. I didn't set this up. There was nothing for me to do. I just plugged the device in, turned it on, got it configured, got the data to it, and it is doing this for me out of the box. And it's kind of looking at, hey, that exploit chain, how do things work, right? Well, we have that idea of, machines get into your area. They start doing lateral movement. They start probing, looking around. They can establish a command and control center, and then they can start exploiting data, pulling data out of your environment. And that's kind of what we're seeing down here, right? Crypto mining would be more of an action warning statement. Exfiltration definitely falling into that exploit side of the house and giving it to you here. So from that perspective, right, just from a tourist perspective, this is the default screen. I did want to come up here and I'm going to click on network. Right. So from a network standpoint, it's kind of cool here. A couple things to look at this screen is how many active devices, what's changed since my last interval, nothing. And then coming down here, signal metrics. So I kind of look at this as like a stock ticker, right? If you kind of look at it this way. And it's kind of cool because we're seeing, hey, I expect, right, things to change, and usually in small numbers, right, throughout the day. Maybe at 5, 6 o'clock, we get a big change, a drop down in activity. Users are going home. I expect it, and we can learn that over time, right, and apply it where we start seeing trends. But if I see something that's a massive increase, right, like 100% of 401 errors. Now this is actually good because we have a 100% decrease in 401 errors, which is good. I mean, your web servers are not throwing that error out anymore. But if I start seeing an increase, like this is a good one, DNS text records. Hey, it's an increase here. And this one's suspicious TCP connections, an increase of 22%. It's the middle of the day. Hey, what's going on? So kind of a cool of a stock ticker. Now, I know some of you are probably looking at this screen over here. If you notice, it does change automatically. I can control this, but this is, again, from that SOC perspective, you might want it up. What we're seeing here is a live activity map. Now, it's not just a pretty map that ExtraHop drew. It's actually live data. So when you're seeing these numbers go back and forth, if I hold this guy, right, let me just move him here so we get a better view. And you're seeing that CIFS communication happening. That's live CIFS traffic happening on this device. And also even the size of these devices by default are showing you who's doing more talking. So obviously this machine here, orange, is probably a CIFS server by the icon. It's file server. It's doing more talking of the CIFS protocol, so it just represented bigger here. But you can play with these maps. They're interactive. We can see all sorts of stuff going. If you notice, some of these have a little circle around them, means they're beaconing. And if you notice right here, I can see some of the reasons why it's beaconing, right? Suspicious CIFS activity, potential issues that are happening here. So that's that detections that happens automatically. I'm not going to drill into one of these yet. I'm just kind of giving you an overview. But again, if we click on here, we're going to notice here's DNS traffic in your environment right now. Right? These things will keep going, and these dashboards will automatically add to themselves based on the protocols that are in your environment. I'm seeing all the web traffic in your environment here, for an example. So very powerful, giving you these live network maps, SSL activity that's going on in your network. So just give you that quick tour. The last button up here is the perimeter from this overview page. What this is looking, even though I mentioned ExtraHop is really that east-west, because he does see the traffic going across your core network, right? We'll set it up properly. We are seeing inbound and outbound data going. And this is what this is trying to show you. Currently, this is circled green. There's no exfiltration going on. Right, currently in this time frame, we're looking at a device and where they're talking to. No command and control. Oh, actually there is. So suspicious endpoints, right? So we're looking at here is this box, right? We'll probably go drill into this, has a detection on it, and it's showing us, hey, this box is talking outside of your network, and it's suspicious at this point. It looks like there's a command and control detection here. We'll go look at what that is. Also note, we get this geo mapping data. Again, it's not an extra, it's not paid, you don't pay extra for it. It comes with the product, where it's loaded with known suspicious IP addresses, countries, addresses, and we'll get into that a little bit, where we'll see where traffic is coming from. Hey, is this coming from the US? Is it coming from Russia, China? Where in Russia? Is this a suspicious IP address? Those type of things. So again, just try to give you that quick tour at the moment. So I'm gonna click back here, back to the overview for a second, if you will, and let's go take a look at some of the things we see here in a little more detail. So again, auto classifying, other devices, 10 detections, web servers, 17 file servers, got 2 detections out here. Your domain controllers, that'd probably be something I really want to go look at. These risk scores are scored based on what's going on. So obviously the higher the risk score, probably something you want to go look at quicker. It's showing your highest risk score, obviously that 88, right? And we can kind of see it, low risk all the way to the highest risk of what's going on, and kind of looking at this. So for an example, if I'm going to click one of these, I'm just going to look at this one, randomly pick one up. This is what we're looking at when I had mentioned, not only is ExtraHop just giving you an alert, showing you what's going on. I didn't do anything to set this up, but it's giving me now this guided investigation. Now this one looks like in the demo environment, someone's already looking at it, but doesn't mean I can't. So from this perspective here, it's telling us, hey, we're seeing lateral movement, right? Someone's in your network and it appears like they're doing lateral movement. Now, what does that mean? It could mean a couple different things to folks, but in this case, it's telling us, hey, based on what this client does, we've been monitoring this client for a while. We know its behavior. We know it's trending. It's now using a large number of files, right? This could be compromised. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean it is, but it basically read about 1,000 files in a very short period of time. This is something that needs to be investigated, and ExtraHop is giving me these investigation steps. Hey, go look at the users involved in this. What files are they moving around? Should that user have access to these files? Should they be moving them? And view the targeted server they're going to. So right here's these investigation steps. So this is where I'm trying to show you with a couple clicks. So far it's one click. I might not be a 10 years veteran security analyst, but with this guided investigations, I can say, okay, well, what users are involved in this? Let me click this and figuring it out. Well, look at work group John. Well, okay, now I know who's doing this. A bunch of other drill downs I could do here, but I'm just going to hit the back button and go back to my card and say, okay, now I know it's John. What files are being affected in this scenario, right? So again, if you notice, it actually came to the same view, but I'm trying to walk you through the guided step there. And it's saying, well, in this response time, which we denoted this anomaly, right? Here's all the files he's looking at. Well, okay, maybe John is in accounting. Maybe he's working on a project, but giving the time frame, which is not a lot of time, why did John start grabbing pensions and revenues and budgets and, debts and credit? I mean, it looks pretty suspicious here, right away. And this is pure evidence. This is not me guessing. I'm not going through a bunch of logs to figure this out. So far, it's 2 clicks. I know it's John, and I know what files he's doing. So again, I'm going to click back here just for a second, just to follow this guided investigation. And what's the targeted server that this is happening on? Well, it's Orange, right? So now I know, and again, I'm the network guy. I kind of know what servers are in my environment. I know my environment. Orange server. Okay. Well, let's just look at here. Since I drilled into this side, I could click this button. So this button here, now this is provided with you with the discovery box. We're not talking trace appliance yet, raw packets. I'll get into that in a minute. But this is showing me the transactional record, which is kind of cool, right? The SIMs don't really give you this data. This is what's going on. The accounting laptop is the client. The record type is CIFS. Here's the timestamp. Obviously the IP address. Here's the server he's getting to. And look at this. Even if I don't know how SMB works, this kind of can figure it out. This is that ExtraHop being protocol fluent, right? Hey, we connected to this file share. We started looking, right? We're looking for stuff. We closed the connection. We got info on these account files. Okay, that's interesting. So another cool thing with ExtraHop is, look at this, 5,300 something records. Get info. Well, what is he getting info on? Let me just look at that. With another click, I eliminated some noise, went down to 1,000 records. Well, these are all the files. Again, I clicked on that a minute ago with the file button, but I'm showing you another navigation. And this is an example of that Google style searching I was talking about and how powerful this is. Think about you trying to do this today with, a gigabyte of log files and looking at. Incredibly difficult, if not impossible. But there's a wealth of information that I can see the files. Again, it's John, the request in bytes, how much processing time, from a security standpoint, don't really care. But again, it's interesting to me from a performance side. If I was investigating performance, these numbers would count. From a security aspect, I don't really care so much. A couple ways to view this. I actually like looking at it this way. Again, just my eyes here. But notice, again, as I had mentioned, any one of these, I could say, okay, here's this file. That's awesome. And I'll do better examples of this and say, you know what? I don't want to look at anything that has this file in it. And as expected, I only dropped one record, but that was more of an exercise of, hey, how do I use this Google-like search capability, right? Very easy, very quick to do to look at stuff. And also notice we're even getting some of these things on this side of the tree. If I wanted to read, hey, what are all the files he read? I could click on this and it's going to show me all the files he read and whatever view you like looking at here. So powerful indexing, powerful searching capabilities to find this. Now, let's say, okay, now I got to go talk to John. Is he supposed to have access to these? What's going on? If I had to present this data forensically, right, I can click this button. This icon is showing me that we should have packets. These are the raw packets, right, that I could replay with PCAP. So those folks that were thinking about it here is this is kind of incredibly unique, right? Is because, again, ExtraHop is doing this for you automatically. I didn't have to set up Wireshark, turn it on. I think something's going on. Please watch this conversation and let it run all day and then try to sift through that. I can just download this PCAP file. Now, if we notice at the moment, it's 1.2 gigabytes in size. Okay, you know what? Maybe that's a little bit too much, and I need to clarify that down. So I said, okay, I'm going to remove this one here. Server Orange accounting laptop. It's all the SMB reads. And the other thing I could do is I could say, you know what? How about I only look at it from this time frame? Right? Here's really what I'm looking at. ExtraHop's kind of showing me, so I'm going to drill into here. This is now more realistically if I want to get. So now I'm going to click this and look at the packets. Still huge on the side, but I can drill in here and get the raw packets and just not go through gigabytes and gigabytes, but I can download targetly what I wanted. So this would be in a forensics exercise where I may have to prove that John did this from a raw packet standpoint. Again, fingerprints on the gun. Can't deny it. Or in the case of, and this is a true story, we were doing a POC with a client. They actually got hit by ransomware where we had ExtraHop in place. They detected it with ExtraHop and actually even their own tools, but we stopped it. And then it was, well, what files got affected? Hey, with ExtraHop in 2 clicks, we told them which files. The beauty of it was, instead of paying ransomware going to backup, we came here to ExtraHop, downloaded the PCAP, and they actually recovered their files back in their servers. Took them about an hour, the whole thing, right? So incredibly powerful. So anyway, I digress there a little bit, but I did want to give you that overview of that threat hunting. Right, so I know we're limited for time, so I got to keep running here. But what I want to look at again from this perspective, so I want to look at some of the other use cases here in ExtraHop. So we kind of walk through this, threat hunting. Let's take a look, for example, at dashboards. Now, a couple things I want to point out. This is our demo environment. So we have the default dashboards here, which I'm going to walk over. There's also this idea of bundles, right? So bundles, if you're an ExtraHop customer, you get them for free. You don't have to pay for them. ExtraHop creates a bunch of these. The user community out there is very strong, creates bundles that are really cool. What a bundle is it gives you dashboards, triggers, alerting. So you can really have like a dashboard for Office 365, for example, or a dashboard just for databases and so forth. So you can give these views to different teams and it lets you jump into it. But regardless of that, what I wanted to do is show you this capability here from ExtraHop's standpoint. Of the network side. So as you would expect, right? We're looking at the raw network. These are level 2 metrics. Hey, what are my unicast packets? What's happening? What are my frames? So all these normal things that you would expect a network tool to deliver. So I want to make sure I point some of these things out. A couple unique things that ExtraHop does here, and we don't have any currently in our environment, but being able to exonerate network, and I think that's what ExtraHop was doing from the get-go here. Was it typically if you had a performance issue, there's something going wrong in a network, usually you get the war room, you get the database guys, the network guys, the admin guys, all these people, everybody's looking at their own tool, trying to say, no, everything looks clean on my side, it must be you. And of course, everybody blames the network. So it just seems to be what happens. But from the ExtraHop standpoint is we can see complete visibility, right? Again, that layer 2 and 4 metrics all the way up to the layer 7. So the same teams can be leveraging the same data to see what's going on. Now, I kind of brought out zero windows and RTOs, just if people don't know what that is. In a lot of environments, these are actually server or application issues that masquerade as network problems. And you can spend hours trying to troubleshoot this stuff. ExtraHop, because everybody can leverage the same set of data, can stop the finger pointing, right, and get to fix the problem. That's the real purpose that you're all there. But again, what I'm trying to show you here is ExtraHop goes above and beyond, to me, any other tool that you can think of that provides you layer 2, layer 4. We start getting up to layer 7. This is where, the applications meet the network. The rubber meets the road, right, of what's going on. So I can take a look, hey, is the network looking good? Is it congested? Is there a problem? No, it kind of looks clean. Okay, well, let's start looking at the applications, right? And that's that layer 7 type of things. And excuse me, further up. So this overview page, and again, I'm not going to walk into everything, but, the network folks in the room, you can see this is giving you everything you'd expect from a network tool. So I'm going to jump over here to the default system dashboard and look at some of this activity. So again, a couple of things I should probably point out. This is demo data, but by default, I usually look, at a last time. So I'm actually going to switch this to the last 30 minutes. It's demo data, so let's just see what I see here. But from this perspective is, hey, what's going on in the last 30 minutes? A couple of unique things I can do here. I could go back in time, right, and look at stuff. So by default, the ExtraHop appliance size for you guarantees 30 days look back. It's 30 days of performance. It's actually pretty cool. If you want more, ExtraHop doesn't charge you a data tax. You could add extended storage. That means a shift share and NFS share. So really your look back is unlimited of what you want. So again, very unique. Try doing that with Splunk or something. Not going to happen. You're gonna pay for data nodes for that storage capability. And I could even do custom timeframes, and I could even compare, last week versus this week. So I'm not going to go through all that. I just want to give you some of that flexibility that happens here. But if I'm looking at the last 30 minutes, obviously we see this huge spike in CIFS activity. Probably generated some of these detections. By the way, this alert is different from the machine automatic detections. Some of the bundles have this built in. These are called triggers. You can set them up yourself. Hey, if any database transaction is over 100 milliseconds, let me know. It's probably bad, type of thing. But what I want to show you is the power here, just with the default dashboards, for example, is ExtraHop is going to start populating some of these dashboards at a high level. Of all the protocols it sees. For example, web traffic. What's the round processing time, the server time, request time? I see, hey, as a whole, and 2 milliseconds, it's really good. Your web servers, all of them, client and server, what's going on? Are there any errors here? And actually, I don't see any error, which is cool. Notice database, right? I'm also now seeing this database information. This is incredibly powerful, right? So for the database guys in the room, remember, there's no agent on your box. We're not profiling your database server, which is known to cause the database server to lock up and die. We're getting this information based on the network data we're seeing. It's incredibly powerful. All the SSL activity, as I had mentioned, decrypted sessions, right? All of this stuff. And I'm going to jump into this in a minute to show you that hygiene that we talked about in a minute. NAS traffic, whether it's CIFS or NFS, all network reads and writes and errors. What's going on? Here's another great example. We were talking about Citrix, right? Here's that ICA protocol. Hey, what are the apps that are being running, right? What is the average times for these to launch? Are there any errors? What are the network latency? So this is a high-level view of every protocol in your environment that runs your infrastructure, and this is where we can start doing some of that hygiene. For example, hey, there's quite a few errors here for DNS. And these things keep going on. LDAP, DHCP, DNS, Kerberos. You can see how this just keeps expanding here, right? So let's jump in and well, there's some errors. I'm being proactive. From this perspective, I could drill down to this. I can say what server is giving me these errors, what host query, what clients are affected. So let's say, well, okay, clients. What clients are affected at the moment with this by these errors? And right away, here's all the clients in your environment. Again, getting back to that auto discovery too. Which ones are getting errors? Well, this guy, this workstation physician one, seems to be getting a lot of errors here. Okay, that's cool. Okay, so what's the host query? What's the query that's causing all of these errors? fs.microsoft.com. web1example.com. So with a couple clicks, I'm looking at some errors and I'm drilling in here saying, hey, is this a problem? Is this just normal activity? I know the clients that are having the error. I can see the servers that are giving me the errors. Obviously, this guy, domain controller, interesting, is giving me the most errors, right? So with a couple clicks, I can drill into this stuff. I'm going to go back to the host query here for an example and say, okay, I'm looking at this. Remember, this eyeglass here lets me look at the transactions, the transactional records. So I say, okay, what is actually going on here, and why am I getting some of these errors, right? So this one's looking at where I launched it from the default app. It's a DNS request. What's happening here, right? And trying to look at some of these queries and where they're happening at. So with a very few couple clicks, if you noticed, I can start looking at the issues that are going on here, what type of query types they are. And if you notice, now I'm looking at the response. This is the server sending back the response, and I'll actually even remove that one to look at all of them. And I'm saying, okay, here's my errors, obviously over here, and I'm getting NX domain and refused. Interested, if I just want to look at that refused, I click it. You notice it added it here. That's that Elasticsearch capability we talked about. Making sense of what's going on in your network, all those network packets, turning it into wire data that's now easily searched. So error refused. Well, what's the query name? It's looking for this sysdmzexample.com, and it's refusing that request. Also notice here, if you're not familiar with DNS, it's a AAAA record, which if you're not familiar, which that means it's an IP6 lookup. And there is no IP6 lookup for this particular file, right? So I say, okay, that's interesting to me. Let's take the error refused away here. And what I'd probably start realizing here is that when I'm looking for that particular, actually, you know what? Let me add that back real quick. And I'm going to say, hey, I'm interested in this. And now I'm going to remove the refused request. So with a couple clicks, what's happening? This client asked this server for this query name, and it's looking for an IP6 address, and it's coming back and saying, no, it doesn't happen, don't have it. And then it immediately, the same server goes out, asks the server again, but this time looks for an A query, an IP4 lookup, and the server responds to it. What is that telling me? It's telling me that your client is trying to do IP6 requests to the DNS server, and maybe you're not a complete IP6 client. Maybe you're not running IP6 at all in your environment. So again, real world example, we were at a client doing a POC with ExtraHop. They had some performance issues on their SAP apps. And what we noticed on a particular day, there was, let's just say for an hour's time span, there was like 30,000 DNS requests. Of those, about 28,000 of those requests were in error. What was going on? Every client in the environment was configured to ask for IP6 addresses. They weren't an IP6 network whatsoever. So with a few configuration issues, back to that hygiene, we removed the clients from asking for IP6 addresses. That jitter every time it looked for a URL, a web, authenticated against a domain controller, it was doing that. Oh, look for this address IP6. Oh, you don't have it? Well, look for this. It's like playing Go Fish. We removed those queries, and along with a couple database things we found, but their SAP application increased by about 12 to 14% across the board. So pretty powerful there. Right. So again, it's really easy to see what's going on from this example with this power search, right? So I'm going to jump back to the dashboard here and kind of do the same thing. And hopefully I'm going to expand the time frame here in my demo data. And I'm going to say last week. So I'm really going to look at a week's worth of data and see from a trending standpoint, hey, what's going on week over week? And as I would expect it, I can see some patterns here. But I'm going to jump down to HTTP, and what I was hoping for was there were some errors, right? So actually, quite a few errors if you look at it, almost 8 million errors. Well, same idea here. We could drill down at it, and ExtraHop does this for every type of protocol. I could look at client, I could look at servers that are having this issue, right? If let's just say I do it from a client perspective, hey, what clients? I'm expecting to be a lot of clients, right, that are getting these errors, and of course there are. Right here, these are the biggest ones, sending out a lot of errors looking for something. So I'm like, okay, I know the client's involved. Actually, real quick, I'm going to deviate for 1 second just because this showed up. Notice this little camera. Came from Russia. This is a threat feed, so I'm sorry for deviating here, but it's in the view, so I had to point it out. ExtraHop does give you that capability of loading sticks data feeds into it for threat intelligence. Again, if you have that currently today, you can import it into ExtraHop. And what this is, it's a known bad actor, and it's in your environment, right? So it's a known feed here, and that will also show up on that detection screen. I saw it before, right? Known malware IP address. So again, kind of powerful here, that idea. So sorry, I know I deviated there a little bit, but I was just trying to point out to you that geo mapping shows us where requests are coming and going from, and those taxi feeds, if you will, that threat intelligence will show up. But let's go back to this idea. Okay, we got web errors. I know the client's involved. Excuse me, I can check out, well, what servers are throwing all these errors, right? Well, it's these IP address, these servers right here are giving the most errors in my environment. So now powerful, because ExtraHop can seize that network traffic down to the URI. What exactly are these machines looking for that are throwing the errors out to them? And if you notice, the biggest one here is this guy right here, demoexample.com. So we got a bunch of clients looking for this JSP file, and it's just not there. It's throwing out the error. And I could even drill into the record itself to look what's going on here, right? And I could see back from the HTTP side, hey, what clients are doing this? Again, if I want to look at this from a client perspective, I can organize it. Right, it's 3 basic servers that are looking for this, right? So very quickly showing you that capability of that elastic search here. And it's a record type, of course, HTTP is what I'd expect, because that's what I drilled into. He's trying to do a GET, and the status code is 500, right? If we go back to what our status codes are, we could try to figure this out, right? 401 is a file not found. Error code is at 500, I think is permission denied. So these clients are not able to run that contact.jsp. So that may be a normal activity, or maybe a problem with the website that we need to go talk to the web guys and fix, right? So incredibly powerful as we look at this, and I'm going to just show you, and I'm going to back out of here just to some default HTTP traffic. And notice from this perspective, right? I'm looking at, in this time frame, just all the records for HTTP at the moment, right? Because that's what I have here for record type. Looking through my records at this time period, looking at millions and millions of records. Again, that threat feeds in there. But notice over here is what I wanted to point out, these status codes. Hey, what if in my environment, you know, I'm looking for specific status codes, 404 errors. Right here, I can see all the 404 errors in my environment. What devices are coming in on them? You know, where they're going to, what are the actual errors they're receiving from these error codes. Very powerful how we do this. And while we're on it, also notice that ExtraHop is automatically flagging whether they're errors or not, if they're suspicious or not. So in this case, well, it's kind of a lot of suspicious activity going on here. So WebDural, and again, this is that threat feed. We know we're talking to a bad actor here, right? So again, 2 points to make out of this, and I kind of stumbled on this, but that knock guy looking for performance issues is in here looking at the web traffic, looking for errors. I don't have to be a security analyst with 10 years experience to notice, hey, I got some suspicious activity going on, and ExtraHop is showing it to me right here. I did this with a couple of clicks. So going back to that hygiene standpoint, right, and the knock and sock folks working together, this is incredibly powerful from this perspective. So again, hopefully we showed you enough. I'd love to ask some more questions. We can load up some of those default dashboards for you, show you more capabilities and get a POC running in your environment. But hopefully with all of this, we kind of really just drilled in and showed you how ExtraHop can help you in your environment and take Acme North really where it should be tomorrow. So with that, I'd like to thank all of you for paying attention and answer questions if anybody has any.